Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired the Game. I'm Sean.
And I am Lola. Have you ever wanted to design your own board game? Now you can pretend to in the new game, Meeple Inc. Now, Meeple Inc. is a 1 to 6 player worker placement game in which you'll be playing board game designers, putting out games and trying to win awards. This takes place in an alternative universe where meeples and humans live in harmony side by side.
Following the Meeple-Human Wars of the 1500s.
But we don't talk about that anymore. We want to thank Cogito Ergo Meeple for sending us this prototype to review. Meeple Inc. is a worker placement game for 1 to 6 players. You begin the game with 4 worker meeples that you can place out in various locations on the board. You also begin with 1 employee around your table. Now, your table has space for 6 employees. Employees are important as they each have different skills to help you publish board games. To gain more employees for around the table, you can go to the specialist location on the board. This will allow you to hire specialists, which will actually give you another worker. This is a human worker that you can use on any space on the board, but it also comes with a special ability for 1 location that you can take advantage of. Another place to get employees is the freelancer location. Freelancers go around your table and provide a new location for your workers to go visit. Now, this will be a location only for your workers to use. Once you place your new employees around the table, their skill icons add together, meaning that you can create bigger and better board games. Now, a board game has 3 distinct elements. It has the box, which can be levels 1, 2, 3, or 4. It has components, which also can be levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, and mechanisms, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you are ready to put together a board game, you can only build to the level that your employees are able to design. To do so also requires lots of resources. You will need inspiration to create your box, playtesting to develop your mechanisms, and you're going to need research to create the best components. These resources can be gathered through the board locations. There are also locations to upgrade to train your employees. There is a location where you can get item cards that can give you certain bonuses, and another location to get objectives that can give you additional endgame scoring. As you gather together the different elements of your board game, they will go onto your table. Now, you can only work on 1 game at a time. Now you are ready to publish your first board game. To do so, you go to the Publish Board Game location and you get to choose a fun box top. Put the top on and your first board game is complete. Congratulations! Now, if you've created your board game with just the right specifications of box, components, and mechanism numbers, you can submit it for an award. When you submit your board game for an award, it gets to go on the awards shelf and you get the award token, which will garner you more victory points at the end of the game than straight published games will. Once you've placed all your workers out onto the board, you can retrieve your workers as your next turn. Now, when you do that, you will be moving the time marker down the track towards 0. 1 movement per each worker that you pull back. There are some rewards along the track, and if you pass over or land on one of those, you get that immediately. At this point in time, you get to make predictions about 1 publisher around the table. What are they going to do in their next round? Are they going to publish? Are they going to visit certain places on the board? You take your prediction cards and decide what you think that they're going to do. Place them down secretly, and the game continues. You have until you next pull back workers to have your predictions come true. If you called it, you'll get victory points depending on how many predictions you make. The more predictions you made, the more points you're going to get. However, if any of those predictions didn't come true, you won't get any victory points at all. Play proceeds with everyone using their workers out onto the board to gain resources and to build board games and to get awards. Whoever moves a time token to 0 gets 5 additional victory points, and everyone else gets 1 final turn. At the end of the game, you will add up all your victory points and see who has been the most successful board game publisher. Now, I love the components of this game. Those boxes, that's my favorite part. They're absolutely adorable. I love everything about them. The different art on them where they allude to other existing games. Having that shelf to put your games on when they get awards is super fun. The dice that represent playtesting, the magnifying glasses that represent research. There's a lot of really cool things going on with these components. I love the artwork of the standees as well. So they're really beautiful. I love how they look like they're standing around at the table because you put them at your table. And I love the tables. Like, these little game tables are adorable. They even have felt. They even put felt on them, and I think that is so absolutely cool.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts as well.
Yeah, as you put your components on, as you're building up your game, you actually feel like you're collaborating in something, and it's super fun. Now, we do want to let you know that all the components that you've seen here today are from the prototype, and certain parts of it are also from the deluxe version. For gameplay, this is a pretty standard worker placement game. Now, one of the really neat elements of it that we enjoy is that each location has multiple places to go to. Now, we were playing, and the pictures that you see are of the 2-player board. The reverse side is the board for more players and has more spaces as well. So it was nice that, say, if you go to do one action, say publish, there's another place. So both people have that potential possibility to publish within the same round. Now, each of these places where you can go has a reward when you place it, and that's seen within the Meeple. And some of them have an additional cost, however. So if you are the second one to do an action, you likely have an additional cost in order to do it. But what's interesting is sometimes you're going to want to go into that place anyway because it offers you a reward that you specifically want. So there's actually a lot of the nuance to strategy in choosing which spot you want to go for and what reward it's going to give you. So as I say, it's a pretty straight worker placement game. It's also a really dynamic worker placement game with a lot of nuance in the strategy that I really love. And I also like the employees that you can hire, I guess, and that there's 2 different types. So there are the specialists, and they actually provide additional workers for you to use on the board, which is fantastic. And each specialist is a specialist for one area on the board, meaning that they can use any of the spots for free there. They don't have to pay that extra cost, and they usually have an additional benefit that they bring to that spot, but they can also be used anywhere. Now, the freelance employees you can get, they don't provide an additional worker, however, they provide an additional spot for workers to go on. Now, this is a spot that's only for your workers, and it really can give you a fantastic advantage with getting just that right spot that's ultra useful for you.
Now remember, each employee sitting at your table is contributing their skills to the pool that determines what level of component or mechanic or box that you're able to obtain.
Yeah, so you're going to want to get the right amount of workers. So I love this strategy there too, with hiring the right workers to get the right amount of skills that you need, and then also using the skill cards to train your workers. The thing that's interesting too is you're not trying to make the best game as in level 4 of all 3 things. Everybody starts the game out with a certain awards card, which specifies what level you need of all 3 things to get a level 1 award, which is the bottom level of the calyx, the level 2, and then the level 3. So each level is different, and each person has different games that they're specifically trying to get the awards. Now, you do get points for your games, so whatever levels of all of those 3 things that you have get added together, and those will be your victor points at the end of the game. However, if you submit a game for an award and it gets to go on the shelf when you get an award for it, now it's worth a lot more points. So most of the time you're trying to create games specifically to get awards and to fit on those shelves. Now, an interesting part of this game is the predictions. This is unique. I haven't seen this in many other games, and actually when we first played it, I didn't know what I thought of it, to be honest. It felt like it slowed down the game a bit because you have to wait for the player to make the predictions before you could keep going. and I just wasn't really getting it. Now into the second game, it clicked for me and it made so much more sense, and I actually came to really love that mechanism to this. It provides a lot of additional strategy to the game. So on one hand, you have to pay attention to what everybody around the table is doing so that you can anticipate their needs. And I also think that this makes some nice thematic sense, because I would imagine as board game publishers, you want to have a certain amount of awareness of what's going on in the industry around you, and that's what this represents to me. But functionally around the table, it also makes us more engaged with each other. So in order to anticipate what each other is going to do, we have to know where they are in the process of their game. We have to anticipate what type of resources they're needing next for the next part of their development as well. So it kind of makes it fun and exciting. Now, on the other hand, people are making predictions about you, and there are ways that you can subtly thwart them by using some of these free action spaces. So it's a way that you can have some fun with thwarting the predictions of other people, because these predictions are actually worth a lot of points. Only when you get them right, though.
So this is the main scoring mechanic during the actual game, so you're going to want to take advantage of it. It's almost like a push your luck. You get more points the more predictions you make correctly, but it's also an all or nothing kind of thing. But luckily there are also other ways of forcing predictions to become true.
The majority of your score does come down to what your awards and what games you published in the end, as well as your objective points. So I find that the theme shines through really well throughout this whole game. And my favorite part of the game is choosing what box lid to put on your box when you're publishing. I love that we get to choose that. I love that there's so many choices. The whole vibe of this game is fun. I have not been this excited about a game in a while. So if this game captures your imagination like it does mine, and if you like a good worker placement game, you'll want to check out the campaign. We'll leave a link to it down in the description below. Check it out. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching today.
Consider subscribing to the channel.
And as always, happy gaming, folks. I want to see that again. Just one more time. Okay. Gets one last turn. Keep knocking everything over. I should start over. Okay, let's just start over. Now, the whole vibe. You're good?
I'm good. Okay. I'm fine.
We want to thank. I know I'm gonna Cogito Ergo Meeple. We want to thank Cogito Ergo Cogito Ergo Meeple. Okay. I don't know why, it's a tongue twister to me. This is the built-in time mechanism for the game. As the little cubes and
little cubes with dots on them, you know. What the hell those things are called?
Whatever those things are called. Okay.
Die? Well, that was rude.
We want to thank.
We do. We just can't.
Now we got a cat.
We haven't said fun enough in the last 3 sentences.
We want to thank Cogito Ergo Meeple for. I did this kind of thing, but I did it.
Cat on the stairs. There's a cat on your back.
Hello, cute. One else who didn't move it to 0 gets one last turn. Keep knocking everything over. To anticipate what they might be needing for resources to get